limited company is a formal entity, it's a legal entity, it's recognised in law as a person. So it's registered at Companies House, it has shareholders, it has directors. You can actually form one online yourself at Companies House, you can use a formation agent, or you can ask an accountant or even a solicitor to form one. We regularly form limited companies for our clients. It needs to be registered not only at Companies House, but it needs to be registered with HMRC. It pays corporation tax on its profits. It may be registered for VAT. It's likely to be registered for PAYE. The minimum requirement of a limited company is that you have one director and one secretary. These are normally the same person, but you can have more than that. In some circumstances, there may be advantages in having a spouse as a shareholder. In such an arrangement where the company pays dividends, dividends are paid pro rata to shareholders. So if a non-working spouse receives dividends, they may find that they're not paying tax on those dividends, whereas the director, if he had received them, would have. So there can be tax savings. All directors are required to file self-assessment returns. So probably as you've been employed in the past, you've never had to do one of these. You'll have to do one of these every year now. This is something that we can do for you, but again, it's something you can also choose to do yourself. It's not that complicated for the majority of people. Payroll is something that a company has to use if it's got employees. As a director, you're likely to be receiving some salary, so that must be processed through PAYE. The company will calculate deductions on your salary, remit those deductions to HMRC, and will also make electronic filings with HMRC. Again, this is something that as accountants we regularly do for our clients, so we can take the pain of that away. The sort of costs of, in terms of accountancy fees of running a company will depend to some extent on the nature of the activities of the company, its turnover, the number of transactions, and also to some extent on the services that you require from an accountant and the services that you wish to deal with personally. But I think typically you're going to be looking at around about £1,000 to £1,200 a year for the services that the company needs. Savings of using a limited company can often be as high as 20% of turnover. So on a £350 a day rate, the potential tax savings could be as high as £16,000. So the accountancy costs, I think, pale into significance. For most limited companies, there is no legal requirement to have insurance. If there are any employees other than the director, there is a legal requirement to have employees' liability insurance. This, if you need it, can be arranged fairly cheaply. You're looking at a premium of around about £100 a year. The other insurance that a lot of contractors consider is professional indemnity insurance. This covers you if a claim is made for negligent advice. So before rushing in to take a policy like this, you have to really look at your role with the client and ask yourself the question, am I providing advice to the client or am I simply following instructions? If you are providing advice and the client's relying on that advice, there is a potential for a claim if your advice is negligent, and in such circumstances professional indemnity insurance should be considered. The cost of this can vary, but you might be looking at something like £500 to £1,000 a year. The company is a separate legal entity, and so a director can't simply channel the money that the company is making through his personal bank account. All companies require a company bank account. This bank account will be in the name of the company, it will be an asset of the company, and it will be operated by the director, but it will be the company's money, not the personal money of the director, and should be treated as such. We have connections with a couple of banks, so we can deal with that for you if you wish. But again, it won't be a bank account that we're operating, you'll be operating the bank account, we won't have access to that, we will simply be an agent opening a bank account for you. Well, you need to maintain accounting records, so the transactions that the company is undertaking need to be recorded. And different companies of different sizes really need a different level of accounting. But with the kind of thing that you're doing as a contractor, the number of transactions is likely to be low. You may find, for instance, you're invoicing once a month and that you might have, over a period of a year, around about 50 payments. Something like this can simply be recorded on an Excel spreadsheet and is probably only likely to take you about an hour a month to administer. we provide a very simple Excel spreadsheet that our clients can use free of charge, but many of our clients use that. Similarly, some decide to use their own systems, such as Sage or QuickBooks, or some even design their own spreadsheets. The spreadsheet that we've designed is really aimed at minimising your time, but providing us with the minimum information that we need to prepare your accounts. Your receipts are accounting records, so it's unlikely that anyone is actually going to want to see them, but you do need to retain them, and you need to retain them for 7 years. However, the government recognise that the world is marching on and technology is taking over, and you can scan and keep scanned images of all your receipts if you wish. I would advise, of course, that if you do this, you back them up. As a director, you're responsible to the outside world for the actions of the company. So you must act in a responsible way, you must avoid conflicts of interest, you must recognise that the company has liabilities, and you need to ensure that the company retains funds to discharge those liabilities. You're also required by Companies House to file returns. This to some people seems onerous, but I think you have to step back and say that the very word limited in a company means that the company has limited liability. So if it fails, the directors and the shareholders are generally not personally liable for the debts. So in return for that, the law via Companies House requires that returns are filed. You have to file an annual return every 12 months made up to the anniversary of incorporation. This is a very straightforward return that most people find they can file online themselves without the need of an accountant. And you have to file your accounts every year. These are actually filed in an abbreviated form, which gives very limited information, but there's still the requirement to do this. And your accounts must be filed generally within 9 months of the end of the year, and if you fail to do that, you will be liable for a penalty. We make sure that all of our clients, to the best of our ability anyway, file their accounts well before that 9-month deadline.